Welcome to Gaia's Calling, where stories ignite your spirit and the earth whispers her secrets. I'm Brad Swift, a write-on-purpose author of eco-fiction and nonfiction, inviting you to become an eco-guardian. Together, let's explore the wonders of our world and take action to protect them. Listen closely, Gaia is calling. And today's call from Gaia is the fourth great truth, stewardship, tending the earth together. Let's start. From domination to stewardship. Back in 2011, wow, I can't believe it was that far back, but 2011, when I first began writing Dominion over all, the eco-fantasy novel that launched the Zak Bates Eco-Adventure series, I opened with two quotes that have stayed with me, ever since. The first quote, from Genesis 1:26, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." But that then begged the question, what does dominion really mean? It is traditionally interpreted as to subdue or to rule over. When taken to an extreme, though, it can include oppression and exploitation. However, an exploited planet, Earth, does not leave humanity richer. Perhaps there is a deeper, more sustainable aspect of dominion that includes a sense of service to one's fellow creatures, and even a compulsion to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And that's quoted from the Christian Science Monitor. Now, whether or not you come from a Christian background, the idea of dominion as permission to dominate the earth has been baked into many modern cultures and systems. But what if that interpretation was never the original intention? The Hebrew word translated as dominion in Genesis 1:26 is radah, R-A-D-A-H in English. While often rendered as rule over, its usage in Scripture is layered. In some passages, radah refers to harsh rule, but in others, like Psalm 72, it reflects compassionate leadership and protective care. Even more revealing, Genesis 2:15 uses two different Hebrew words, abad and shamar, to describe the human role in Eden. Quote, to work or serve it and to keep or protect it, end of quote. So, from the very beginning, it seems our role wasn't to control or exploit the earth, but to care for it with reverence. To be stewards, not masters. And that brings us to the fourth great truth. GT number 4, humanity as stewards, not masters. The fourth great truth tells us that our purpose on earth is not to dominate nature, but to care for it. We are not its overlords, we are its guardians. True leadership, true greatness is about serving life, not exploiting it. Please, our political figures, pay note. This strictly challenges one of the four great untruths, the myth that technology will save us. Now, technology is a tool, but it is how we use it and to what end that defines its value. All around the world, we are witnessing a quiet revolution. For example, the global rewilding movement is bringing life back to landscapes, reintroducing native species, restoring watersheds, and creating wildlife corridors that reconnect fragmented habitats. These efforts support both biodiversity and climate resilience. And there's a link in my Substack for more information about that. And then there's the regenerative farmers, are learning to grow food in ways that actually heal the land, enriching soil, protecting pollinators, increasing biodiversity, and even sequestering carbon. Their practices are a hopeful alternative to the extractive model of industrial agriculture. And again, there's another link for more information. And then thirdly, communities are rising to protect rivers, plant forests, and bring back traditional knowledge in service of renewal. From citizen-led river cleanups to forest guardianship programs led by indigenous groups, people are rediscovering their place in nature's web. And see the link for more. And yeah, even in the realm of imagination, in dominion over all, young Zak Bates and his wise flying dog companion Samson, along with the last living magic cat Rakit, learn that being a leader isn't about controlling others. It's about protecting what matters, especially those who cannot protect themselves. Their adventures take them deep into the heart of ecosystems in peril, where their courage and humility allow them to serve as bridges between human and animal worlds. They don't save the world by force, they help it heal through partnership, listening, and love. And that's what this truth calls us to now. Not to save the world, but to help it thrive. What if being a hero wasn't about saving the world at all, but about helping it to thrive? That's a question I hope every reader will carry with them. Now, how about living these great truths? Stewardship is not a lofty ideal. It is a daily practice, a way of walking through the world with awareness, humility, and care. And it can start close to home. Here are a few steps we can take. Start a compost pile or a community garden. Or support local regenerative farmers who grow foods in ways that restore the earth. Or choose purchases that give back more than they take. Businesses that support reforestation, fair trade, or open cleanup. Last of all, but just of this short list, spend time with young people outdoors. Teach them how to care, how to listen to the land, how to feel part of the great web of life. This will be published on Friday, and Friday is my play date, my standing play date with my 4-year-old grandson, Logan. And even if it rains, we'll be outside at some point during the day, helping him to learn about nature. So there's a ripple effect. Even the smallest actions have power. One school that plants pollinator gardens, a family that turns their lawn into a habitat, one teenager who organizes a clothing swap instead of buying fast fashions. All of this matters because you matter. So let's take a look at the Green family and how they weave it together. One sunny Saturday in early spring, the Green family gathered in their backyard, gloves on and shovels in hand. Their lawn had once been just grass, but this year, Sarah and Daniel decided it was time for something more. Together with their neighbors, they are planning and building a shared garden. Each raised bed, carefully filled with compost and seedlings, represent a piece of their new story: sufficiency, reciprocity, and care. While her parents worked the soil, Emma knelt beside a patch of wildflowers. She was tracking bees for a school project, marveling at how their tiny wings help nourish entire ecosystems. They're like Earth's little messengers, she told her mom, and we're their helpers, right? Lucas, now 16, just returned from the local thrift store where he'd set up a clothing swap with friends. It's kind of wild, he said. Turns out you don't need to buy new stuff to feel good about how you look. Later that evening, Nancy and Robert sat on the porch swing, watching their grandchildren play in the dust. I think this is what stewardship really means, Robert said softly. Not big speeches, just how we live day to day. Nancy nodded. And what we choose to pass on. So, reflection and inspiration. Which of these great truths resonates most with you? How might you start living it today? Choose one and begin. Keep a journal. Start a conversation. Or join an Earth listening circle in your community. Because the truth is, you don't have to save the world. You just have to care for your corner of it. And that, dear Eco-Guardians, is enough to change everything. Now, a couple PS's. If you are a lover of animal, or you have a 10 to 16-year-old boy or girl who loves animals and loves to read, I heartily recommend, my own book, Dominion Over All, and there's a link to where you can pick it up. It was actually inspired by Severin Colas Suzuki. Now, in 1992, at that time just 12-year-old, Severin gave a speech at the UN with the same sense of urgency as Greta's speech in 2019. And I invite you to take a look at the YouTube video that I've included here. And Dominion Over All, think about it this way. When the last living magic cat and her flying canine companion show up on your doorstep with an offer you can't refuse, it can sure throw a wrench into an otherwise normal teenage life. And a second PSS, a powerful step you can take today. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to reduce your carbon footprint and give Mother Earth a fighting chance to recover is to embrace a more plant-rich diet. Food production accounts for up to 1/3 of planet heating emissions. But the good news? Every bite we take is an opportunity to choose differently. You don't have to go vegan overnight. Just consider these steps. Number 1, cut back on beef. Replacing even half of your beef intake with plant proteins can slash your dietary emissions by 20%. And try plant-based dairy. Swapping to soy or almond milk can reduce emissions by another 8%. And shift towards a vegetarian or vegan diet. These options reduce your food-related emissions by anywhere from 48 to 69%. And I've done those. And I tell you what, it's not that hard if you take it a little bit at a time, a little step and the next step and the next step. And this is not about perfection. It's about intention. Every small shift matters. And when you do it with love for your health, your family, and your home planet, it becomes more than a diet. It becomes an act of stewardship. And again, there's a link where you can learn more about climate-friendly eating here. So there's a shift unfolding, and it needs your voice, your vision, your care. One cause in this newsletter is more than just that. It's a movement. Join us as we remember how to be stewards of the earth.